What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And if you're feeling extra cheeky, you can join by clicking that join button down below or heading on over to Patreon, link in the description, and joining up there, just like these people did. We had Rebecca Ben Abraham, I hope I got your name right, and we had some rejoins from Patricia R and Kirsty Ann May Simpson. As always, thank you so much for your support. You know how much it means to me, and just thank you for doing you. You are absolutely amazing, and for everyone for taking the time out of your day to be here. Incredible support, and don't you forget that you are changing things. Love you for it. And with that being said, let's get in to today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from Throwaway Wife 72. Am I the arsehole for walking out on husband and babies? Throwaway and title sounds awful, and I'm 35 female, probably the arsehole, but my god, I am exhausted. I'm a stay-at-home mum to my daughter 2 and my son 4 months. I'm a preschool teacher, and it didn't make sense to go back to work with the cost of childcare and pandemic risk. My husband works and makes enough to support us, and all my salary would end up going to childcare. We have separate accounts, his idea, and a joint household account that he puts money into. I contributed to this account when I was working. He works from home, 9 to 5 desk job that isn't stressful. He admits it's a cupcake job, has weekends and nights off, and takes vacation days. He likes his co-workers, and I often hear him joking around on calls to them. I love that he loves his job. The problem is that once he's done working, he's done with everything. He will occasionally play with the kids or fix himself a sandwich, but otherwise he's playing games or reading or watching something. He works out as well in the home gym, but there's nothing pressing on his time. Meanwhile, I cook, clean, make toddlers special diet, no dairy or gluten due to allergies. I breastfeed on demand, walk and train the dog, love the dog but he's a Burmese mountain dog and poops like a grown man, as well as do all the upkeep / shopping that comes with running a house. I'm just tired. I'm so tired, and when I ask for help he just stares at me blankly until I go away. Yesterday I snapped. The kids were crying, the dog shit on the rug, he's a puppy, and he's reading his tablet and tells me, "Babe, it smells in here." I made sure that there was pumped breast milk and clean bottles, that dog food was out, and the toddler had enough food for a few days, and I just left. I haven't picked up the phone just to text him when they need to eat / bedtime schedule, and I just realised he has no idea how to keep the kids alive. I want to send my mum over, but I feel like that's rewarding him. I don't know. I got a hotel room for 2 days, I took a bath, I read a book and watched Netflix, and honestly, I don't want to go back. I miss the kiddos a ton and the dog, but I don't miss him. His family is calling me non-stop, telling me I'm a bad wife / mum, and his mother is flying in from Florida since I'm having some sort of breakdown. I don't want her here, but I don't know what to do. I'm just so tired. Now, I usually get shit on for my comments on these types of stories because I always say, and I always start it off with, being a stay-at-home mum is a full-time hard job, and usually people hate on me for that comment, but the only way this is going to be solved is by communication, by talking to each other, showing your love to each other. Running a family with kids, dogs and all that sort of stuff is a partnership, and you need to work together through this. But Thea M says, not the arsehole, honey, and I say this with love. You sound like you're in the middle of a breakdown. There is no shame in that. Take care of you. Take that bath. Make sure someone knows you're okay. Take the time you need. When you do go home, you have got to have an honest conversation with your husband that he needs to step up. Maybe go to couples counselling so someone outside of this can help him hear you. But you take care of you right now. I know I'm a random stranger, but I'm sending you so many hugs. And OP replies, thank you so much. I'm calling a therapist on Monday to schedule something. I'm normally a really go with the flow person, but it's just been endless. And Diaz says, not the arsehole, but I do feel the need to say something. You need to sit down with your husband and have a serious conversation about working as a team. Those are his kids too, and he needs to take care of them. Shake my head. Parenting classes / couples counselling should also be an option. Honestly, he sounds like a deadbeat though, as a father at least, and you should probably leave for good. And Vast Cartographer says, not the arsehole, so sorry it's come to this. He needs to be pulling his weight with his children, dog and home. Seriously dude, not even finding and removing the smell. Info, have you ever spoken to anyone individually or as a couple? You can definitely reset boundaries, but also to make sure that you're okay. You're only 4 months PP in a pandemic. And OP does reply to this saying, I go to therapy every week, not in person. I am a sexual assault survivor, so I make sure to try and stay on top of my mental health. He's been to therapy before but isn't currently. I'm calling a therapist on Monday though. And just to mix things up a bit, Helga Hufflepuff says, everyone sucks here. You need to have a huge talk with your husband. How are you supposed to solve any of these problems when you literally walked out the door and won't answer your phone? You have 2 kids and you haven't gotten him to pull his weight yet. He probably never will unless you actually talk it out. He's an adult. He should parent and keep the house in order on his own without you telling him how. But if he's not doing it, you need to say something and stop letting him just live as a guest in his own house. Make a list, get a family household app on your phones, or make a schedule, but do something. Do you want a divorce? Because it sounds like you do. You don't miss him, only your kids. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation and how do you think it can be solved? Let us know in the comments below. And our next story is from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for not joining in on my town search party for a missing 18-year-old girl, even though it got me a school suspension? I used to be very close friends with this girl. We're more of acquaintances now, but we still stay in touch sometimes. Her mum reported her as missing all over town and on the town's community pages of Facebook. The police post included that she's not been seen since she left voluntarily from her mother's residence. I texted her to ask if she's seen the news, and apparently she hasn't. I told her about how she's been reported as a missing person and that everyone is looking for you. She said that she cut contact with her mum and has her own apartment now, and that she made it clear to her mum that she was leaving. I told her that we should let the police know that you're safe and they can call off the search. The next day or so after getting that information from my friend, we went to the police station to call off the search party since it was a mistake that she was missing. She explained to them about how she moved away from her mum so that she was never actually missing. Later that day I saw some update posts from the police on Facebook and some other posts that she was discovered to be safe and that there was some confusion about whether she was actually missing or not. Well, people in the comments got upset that she wasn't brought back home to her mum. So now they're all doing their own individual search party to look for this 18-year-old girl. I told everyone in the comments that I know her and she made it clear to her mum that she was moving out and that I saw her at her apartment the other day perfectly fine. Then I got a bunch of comments coming back at me saying I should be ashamed of myself that a child of her age is not capable of being out on their own and that I should give them her apartment address. What are they going to do? Break down her door? Even at school, staff have been saying things to me here and there about how I should knock some sense into my friend. My friend and I are still in high school. I think it's weird they're all talking to me behind her back as if she doesn't know what she's doing. And then another thing is that her mum posted a comment under the police report saying, just to give some advice to parents out there, please keep some sort of tracking device on your kids' phones that will track them even if the phone is turned off. I wish to God I would have done one on then her name, even though her daughter left willingly. I told everyone that, but I got more replies of, you don't know if she really did, someone could have influenced her to leave her mum. It gets worse. I got an in-school suspension. A suspension that lasted 2 to 3 days, but I stay in a reflection room all day long because I was helping/encouraging a runaway. How does that even relate to what I do in school? Her being away from home doesn't have anything to do with me other than I'm friends with her and know her situation and respect her decisions. I'm still not going to give anything up because I believe I'm not in the wrong here, but now everyone is against me. They're not being helpful either because the school principals keep pulling her out of class to talk to her. And because of a lot of people asked, I live in the US. Now, I may be wrong here, but I can't see OP being the arsehole in this situation for trying to help a friend in a potentially, well, we don't know, abusive situation. Maybe. It's obviously something's going wrong in her home life where she needs to get away from it and get her own apartment. And she's 18 years old. And what's with the school in this situation? They sound like they're almost, I say almost, probably overstepping major boundaries. The fact that they're pulling her out of class constantly to try and make her go home rather than questioning what's going on in her home life, right? And that's the major question behind this. What is causing this girl wanting to leave her home so badly to move out completely away from her mum. There's something clearly going on, and for everyone to try and force her back home into that is really toxic in my opinion. But let's check out some of the comments to see what they say. And we'll start off with Bluebell435 saying, you should challenge the suspension with your school and the school board. You can call lawyers to ask for advice. You may find one willing to give a free consultation. Your friend is an adult, and unless there are laws where you live that give guardianship of 18-year-olds who are still in high school to their parents, no one has any business telling your friend where to live. And Urson Black says, not the arsehole unless this girl has reduced mental capability. She's not a child anymore. She's an adult and doesn't need protected or rescued. And Goth Spite says, what the fuck did I just read? When did we stop counting 18-year-olds as adults that can make their own decisions? I moved out at 17 and never looked back. You're not the arsehole for protecting your friend and her wishes. And Ali Calamity says, you need to report the mass coordinated stalking to the police. They need to put a stop to this. She has an illegal right to leave home, and what all these people are doing is stalking and harassment and is illegal. It also appears that their intentions are to force her back to her mother's home, so they're openly planning a kidnapping. Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What could OP do in this situation? That, from the sounds of it, it sounds like the whole town is against them at the moment. Is reporting it to the police at this moment the right thing to do, or not? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And our next story comes from Running with Cows. Am I the arsehole for mocking my brother about his wife making more than him? So my older brother is sometimes a bit of an arsehole. He's 4 years my senior and I love him, but he gets on my nerves. He's a person that believes in traditional gender roles, like the husband is the head of the household and provider, the wife does the homemaking and child rearing and all that stuff. I wouldn't go as far as to call him a misogynist, as he's never tried to force his wife into that role, even after they had their first kids, but some of his views are kinda dated. I married my wife 2 years ago, and since we've been together, she has always made more than me, and by a wide margin. Like, even when we were broke college students, she made more than me. She is a pediatric oncologist and makes a lot of money. I don't want to get too much into our finances, but let's just say if I wanted to quit my job and be a house husband, I could, and very little would change financially. I couldn't care less about this, but my brother always has. He, in a way that come across as caring, tried to warn me against settling down with a woman making so much more than me. I remember a few times that he'd tell me that if I'm not providing financial stability with her, she had less incentive to not cheat on me. I thought this was a hilariously dumb take, but it wasn't a battle I wanted to fight, so I told him I appreciate the advice and changed the subject. He busted my balls about my wife making more than me that I pretty much have just ignored. My brother has lost his job in June because of cutbacks in school district going on. Though lucky for him, his wife also makes a decent paycheck. He was able to get a new teaching job, but now he's back at the bottom of the ladder in his new school and makes significantly less. His wife now makes more than him. Last week I invited them over for dinner, and during the evening I made a joke about how his wife is the breadwinner and man of the house now. His wife thought it was, but he and my wife did not. He and his wife almost immediately left, and he's been pissed at me since. I talked to his wife and he apparently said that he feels like I'm trying to make fun of him. My wife is also mad, but for different reasons. She said that she thinks me saying what I said means that I'm upset that she makes more than me. When I tried to tell her I wasn't, she said that if I really had no problem with that, then I wouldn't have said anything. I don't think I did anything wrong, but I do feel kinda bad. Am I the arsehole? Now, I'm not sure if this one's going to be controversial take or not. Some of the story did confuse me in little places, but I'm going to go with an everyone sucks here, simply because, you know, of your brother's views in this situation, absolutely shitty views about males having to be the breadwinners and all that sort of sexist bullshit. And although you was just trying to give him a taste of his own medicine in this situation, you insulted your wife with more sexist bullshit. Even though it was a joke, it still doesn't make it any less sexist in my opinion. So everyone sucks here, apart from the wives of course. And let's check some of the comments out to see what they say. Chew My Fudge says, you're the arsehole. You are an idiot. Listen to yourself. You're so petty you ended up insulting your wife. You could have said it when you were alone with him and phrased it like, so, still have a problem with my wife making more than me? Now you're getting a taste of it. But no, you completely disregarded how your wife might see it because who cares about her, right? All you're really concerned about is feeding your ego with your brother who you don't even like. Have fun sleeping on the couch, I guess. And Tamika Olivia says, everyone sucks here except for your wife. Your brother is an arse and you seem to have inherited his misogynistic views a little bit more than you might care to admit. And while I'm not particularly concerned that you bruised your brother's ego, you did in a way that hurt your wife. Ironic sexism is still sexism. And Truly Noted says, you're the arsehole, your views are your own and so are his. He's not harming you. Yes, his views are dated, but that didn't give you license to say what you said. Ultimately, you're picking on him for losing his job due to something nobody could control. I'm not saying he's right, I'm saying in this instance you're more wrong than he was. Add to this that you did it without provocation and it seals the deal in my opinion. And Little Lemon 1 says, everyone sucks here. He sucks for being a misogynist, but you suck for stooping to his level. You didn't need to make jokes about him being laid off during a freaking pandemic and having to take a pay cut, but now he gets a taste of his own medicine. Now, what do you guys think of this situation? Do you think OP was right to, give him a little bit of a taste of his own medicine? Or do you think everyone sucks here because, they're both, although it was a joke, sharing the same sort of view at that particular point and insulting his wife too? What do you think of the situation? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Fickle Ad. Am I the arsehole for not letting my stepkids in my house? I met my husband in 2018. His kids have a history of trauma, and while I couldn't accept their father having a new woman, they were in therapy and things were slow. I had an accidental pregnancy where I couldn't terminate. At the time, CPS said that his son could not be in the house with children younger than him, so he wouldn't be able to live together. But it was important to my husband to only have kids in marriage. So we got married before our child was born. It's a second marriage for both of us, so I didn't care about doing the whole wedding. Fast forward almost 2 years later, the CPS case formally closed, but due to that and then everything in 2020, his kids have never met mine. We have a system where my husband lives with me when he doesn't have his kids and in his own house when he does. Now with a vaccine coming fast, he's looking to change that and blend the two families. I don't want that. I don't want to leave my house that I actually own for an ugly rental. I don't want to suddenly be responsible for 3 kids on top of my baby. The CPS case may be closed, but I don't know that it would be truly safe for my child. Even with a baby, my house is quiet and peaceful. My house is also very small, under 1200 square feet. They wouldn't all fit here. Not only that, my house is very old and I spent a lot of money restoring it and getting special permits. It would break my heart to have his kids destroy the place or sell it and have an ignorant people destroy the place. We're now arguing and he's accusing me of lying all along about actually wanting to be a real family, and that I think he was just my last chance to have a baby. It's not that I don't want that, it's just that I don't want to do that here with his kids or lose my space for just me and my child. I think we deserve a safe space of our own too, and I'm proud of all the work I put in. This one's a bit of a tough one because I was reading it and instantly I was drawn to that line of that you don't want to be responsible for the 3 children on top of your baby. And if you initially just look at that, you say, oh yeah, absolutely, you are the arsehole in this situation because you married a man with 3 kids. What the hell was you expecting, right? But then we do need to take a step back and look, CPS was involved with one of these children and said that they couldn't be involved with children younger than them, so they could potentially be a danger to that child. So, if you are looking at it that way, and we have said in the past, always protect your young, and that's what she seems to be doing in this situation. And if she was coming purely from that perspective, I think I would understand and say, like, not the arsehole, or maybe no one's an arsehole here kind of thing. But she also goes on to say about how they wouldn't all fit in there and the house is quite peaceful and she's worked on it. And I do get all that kind of stuff, but it goes back to that first thing of saying, you married a man with 3 kids, what you expecting kind of thing. But I'm going to say... sod it. I'm going to say everyone sucks here purely because you've dragged everyone into this shit. And that's the only reason I'm going for that. Yeah, and I know that's an on the fence judgment, but what can you do in this situation? I'd love to know your thoughts on this one because what can you do? It's a complete mess. But Green Seraphima says, and quotes, I don't want to suddenly be responsible for 3 kids on top of my baby. Then says, then you shouldn't have married a man with 3 kids. You're the arsehole. And the Hot Topic replies to this saying, I also feel like she needs to focus on the safety of her young child. If CPS stated that a kid couldn't live in the house with children younger than them, she still needs to have some restraint and make sure that her baby is protected above all else. I'd be worried about blending the families if I was her based on that alone. And Princessity says, you're the arsehole. You should never marry a father if you didn't want to deal with his kids. God forbid the same happens to your kid. And Team Reddit says, you're the arsehole. You knew he had these children when you married him. I'm assuming you knew the situation would come up. This is a conversation you should have had before you married him. Half of your issue seems to be that you want space for just the three of you. That is unfair to your husband, and if that's how you felt from the beginning, you shouldn't have married a man with kids. And Old Pickle says, hoo, this is tough. I'd be worried about my baby too. I'm curious to why his child wasn't told not to be put with younger children. You do not have to say. I'd want to rent out your fabulous house and you'll move into a new place. Start fresh. Also the child who was deemed unsafe to be alone with others. What has been done to ensure this child has worked through the trauma and won't hurt others? You come off as the arsehole, but I feel there is so much to process here. His kids need to be in a good environment. So if you're not ready for that, do not put them through more trauma. They deserve to be loved unconditionally, even at the most difficult of times. Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys, and I'm going to be interested to see your verdicts on this one, because it is a complete mess, and I was lost on this one, so I'd love to hear your views on it. Anyway, let me know in the comments below, and once again, thank you for being here today. I hope you have enjoyed today's stories, and if you have, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell too. And as said, I have some plans coming up very soon. I've just got a pile of work on my desk. I'm looking at it right now that I need to get through a sort of January build up, you know how it is. So I'm going to be getting through that. I'm hopefully going to be there around the 20th so I can start putting some of these plans into place. You know, a new subreddit for us where we can get our stories, community-based stories, which I want to put down for you guys, you know, to listen to and get involved with the channel further. As I always say, I consider this a community-based channel, and I love the interaction I have with you guys and you guys getting involved with it. So thank you so much for doing you. You are amazing people. Do not forget that, and I will see you in the next one. Much love, guys.